That's a kind of a complicated question, sir. In terms of my favourites, we'll go with that, and then we can go from there. G1 Prime is probably my favourite Universe Prime. I'd say along with Revenge of the Fallen Prime. If I could get a combination of the two, I would. I like G1 Prime because he knew where he was going, what he had to do, and he just got on with his job. He knew it was a job and it needed doing. And he was willing to sacrifice his life for it. Revenge of the Fallen Prime I really liked because he was jaded. And we'd had a compassionate Prime. We've always had compassionate Primes. And for once we had a Prime who was a bit more like Judge Dredd. He was sort of like, well, he wasn't like Judge Dredd. He may not have liked what he had to do, but he was doing it anyway. And in that, I think in that respect, there's a sort of a combination of Rodimus Prime and Optimus in there, in Revenge of the Fallen Prime, because Revenge of the Fallen Prime is like a completely different character to 2007's Prime, who was a kind of a whingy bitch and got his ass handed to him by Megatron. So if I could get a combination of the two, that would be my ideal Optimus Prime. As far as Megatron goes, my favourite would probably be G1, surprise surprise, because there was just no stopping him. The guy was a juggernaut. He was like the ball at the start of Indiana Jones. Just kept going and going and going and going and going. He can't really be stopped. Even when you think he's dead, he gets remade into Galvatron. You know, as far as that continuity goes, I know IDW are turning it on its head and all that, but as far as that kind of continuity goes, I love that Megatron can't be stopped. The bad guy effectively won. He didn't die, you know. I like that. In terms of what I think is the best, I would probably say that G1 Prime is probably the best Optimus Prime that was written for any universe. As far as the cartoons go, I didn't. The comics were, Marvel comics are not my cup of tea. So I can't really base an opinion around that, but definitely the G1 cartoon Prime was the perfect Optimus Prime. In terms of the best Megatron, I would probably say it's Beast Wars Megatron, even though it's not Megatron, because he was brains and brawn. He was really smart, always a schemer, could handle himself really well. So I think those two, in my experience, were the best written, but not my favourites. Cybertron was such a great toy line. It was fairly flawless. It was one of the toy lines with Armada and Energon. There was a lot of crap in there, and then you got some really good toys out of it. Cybertron was a fairly flawless line. Most of the Transformers were really well designed, really well proportioned, had really nice weapons and features, and the little key thing I thought was a nice little gadget, better than Minicons. It's really hard to pick a favourite out of that toy line. That wouldn't be obvious. I don't want to say Prime and Megatron, because everyone, you know, the Prime and Megatron figures are always good, except in Energon. It's quite good. There's a list to choose from as far as my favourites go. I like Swerve, who's the red repainted Clocker, because he's a scout and so much posability in that guy. I like Mudflap. I'd say my favourite is Scourge. Now, he's not the best moulded toy in the line, but he's a great mould. The posability is a bit weak, but he's got a great look about him, and his colour scheme is fantastic. So Cybertron, yeah, Cybertron Scourge would probably be my favourite out of the toy line, aside from the obvious ones like Prime and Megatron, because Megatron in that toy line was fantastic. Arnoid's asking about accents. I think the whole argument about accents is that it's your surroundings, it's where you're brought up, it's nature versus nurture. So if you're if your mum and dad are kind of well spoken, well mannered and posh, if you're brought up in a rough area, then you're going to adopt the rough area's accent. The accent doesn't really bother me. I don't think it's important. Because Perceptor was always British, wasn't he? Well, I don't know. It's just, as far as accents go, I think most of the kind of Transformers are in the movie, which is what this relates to, are American, because I guess that's what they studied, the local culture from space. Bumblebee seems to have a British accent. I want to stay with the boy, but I guess Jetfire. I couldn't place Jetfire's accent. Some people are saying he's Cockney. Some people are saying he's Scottish. Some people are saying he's Australian. It's just wherever he was. Maybe he went to the Dick Van Dyke School of Accents. But I think it's just where he was, really. That's where the accent is from. That's where he came down. So I'm assuming he studied local culture that way, and that's where he developed his accent from. It was something that was recognisable. Hope that helps.